Number 184 is Jowo Rinpoche or Jowo Rinpoche. This is enshrined in the Jokain Temple in Lhasa, Tibet. I don't think you need to know when the dynasty is, but let's say it's 7th century Common Era, so 641 is the approximate date. And this is metal with semi-precious stones, but we can just say stones, pearls, and paint. All right, so we're going to be using this note page to add notes to. So I've got my identifying information up there. So first thing we're going to talk about is context. And I gave you guys a map. So go ahead and mark on the map. This artwork came from India originally, and the King of India gave this to the Emperor of China. And then it went from China to Tibet when a Chinese princess became one of the wives of the Tibetan king. So as part of the dowry, that's when this sculpture was brought over to Tibet. This is really important because this is what marks the arrival or the beginning of Buddhism in Tibet, is when this sculpture arrived. All right, there's our map. In case you want to see it a little bit bigger, again, go ahead and draw from India to China to Tibet. All right, so let's relate that to its origin. Where did it come? How did it get to India, right? Where did it come from? So legend has it that Vishvarma, the celestial king of craftsmen, created the larger than life size image of the historical Buddha Shakyamuni. That's the original Buddha. I guess there's different names for Buddha. So this is the first, the original, the historical Buddha. And it is now housed in the Jokain Temple in Lhasa. So that is theory one, where it came from, right? Kind of like the golden stool that fell from the heavens on a Friday. This was created by a celestial king craftsman. Modern scholars don't believe this. They believe that Jowo Rinpoche, which translates to precious one, Rinpoche means precious one, was probably made in India sometime during the early 7th century. So that is the second theory. You can choose which one you'd like to believe, but there are these two theories of how it got to India to begin with, right? Overall, we need to know this, that the belief here is that this was created during Buddha's lifetime, and they were looking, the artist was looking at a portrait of historical Buddha. By the way, I said this was larger than life. It's about 5 feet tall is the size of this piece. So what does all that relate to the meaning? So this paragraph kind of relates to the meaning. The Jowo Rinpoche was created to act as the Buddha's proxy or his double, following his nirvana, parinirvana, or departure from the world. So that is the function, right? As he departs from the world, this is his double. Kind of like the, in Africa, there was the Ndap, right? The portrait of the king. So it's also an important function. This is a really significant piece in Tibet. It's important to the Tibetan Buddhist people. It's significant because it's believed to be the most accurate portrayal, right? Because it was depicted during Buddha's lifetime from a portrait of him, possibly from the celestial king. So it has direct lineage to Buddha. Also on the right, go ahead and highlight where this is from the College Board. They're saying pilgrimage is an important religious practice we talked about in Islam and Buddhism, and is a key focus of several monuments and artworks in West and Central Asia, including the Kaaba, the most sacred site in Islam, the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, and the Buddha sculpture Jowo Rinpoche, considered the most sacred image in Tibet. So then part of its function is it functioning as a pilgrimage site, because it is the most sacred Buddhist image in Tibet. Here's the temple, by the way. Focal point of the pilgrimage for Tibetan Buddhists, just like Muslims are encouraged to make a pilgrimage to Mecca, Buddhist Tibetans are encouraged to make a pilgrimage to this temple. All right, so out of this paragraph, we should also be able to get out of here what emphasizes enlightenment. So we already read the first sentence. Let's move on to the second sentence. It says, the sculpture portrays Buddha seated under the Bodhi tree at the moment just before the historical Buddha Shakyamuni achieved enlightenment. So go ahead and write, oh, you're going to write all this. You're writing that they are portrayed sitting under the tree, or Jowo Rinpoche is sitting under the tree, sitting in the lotus position. It says Buddha's legs are crossed, right? Crisscross applesauce, sitting in the lotus position. And then mudras. The sculpture uses mudras. Those are symbolic hand gestures to convey that dramatic moment. His hand gestures, he's sitting in a gesture of meditation, left hand, palm upright in his lap. At the same time, his right hand touches the ground in a gesture calling the earth to witness his spiritual authority. So as far as mudras, this is very characteristic of how Buddhas are going to be depicted. It's part of the Buddhist iconography, right? How Buddhas are depicted. Whoop, hi there. They always have a mudras, and then they're typically sitting in this lotus position. And the mudras is the hand gestures. Lotus position is sitting with legs crossed. And then how can we relate this to Pure Land by Mariko Mori? So she also has her hands in a gesture, which is a mudra. She's not sitting in a lotus position, but she's hovering over a lotus blossom. The aliens, especially the two in the foreground, the one to the left of her, those are considered her bodhisattvas. Those are like the helpers of Buddha. They're the ones that kind of help spread Buddha's word throughout. So those are the bodhisattvas. And they are sitting cross-legged. So that is referencing the lotus position. All right, how is this sculpture venerated? Or you can say worshipped. Those two words kind of go hand in hand. It's dressed for special occasions. We're going to see this in our Hindu sculpture as well. All of these precious stones were kind of added later on, also as a part of veneration. It's also brought food as if it were Buddha. I think the photograph on the top of your note page, there's bananas that are sitting there on the left. All right, one more thing to add about the form. Obviously, we see gold in the face, but that's contrasting with that shocking blue hair. And what I thought was a great relation is we talked about gold and blue being the two most important colors in Islamic art. All right, last is making connections. The Jowo Rinpoche and the original Virgin of Guadalupe. This artwork in our 250 is not the original Virgin of Guadalupe, but it's based on that original artwork that's hanging in the basilica. All right, those two artworks share many common characteristics. Devotees believe that both images emerged from a miraculous creation. Again, you can also relate this to the African artwork, the golden stool, right? The Siki Dwa Kofi. It fell from the heavens on Friday. The Jowo Rinpoche is permanently installed in the Jokang Temple in Lhasa, while the Virgin of Guadalupe is permanently installed in the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City. So you can go visit both of those and see those pieces in those settings. Viewers to these sites believe that each image provides a source of profound blessing. And finally, the Jowo Rinpoche and the original Virgin of Guadalupe have served as important unifying symbols for both Tibet and Mexico. All right, last, we have 5 different Buddhas that we need to be able to recognize and distinguish between each other, right? What makes one Buddha different from the other? So go ahead and write on top of Jowo Rinpoche. You're obviously not going to write all of this, but why is this Buddha significant? What do you think is going to be different from the other Buddhas? So go ahead and write a couple of ideas on top of that little square.